Hey guys, Rob Baynard, creative director at LiveX and host of Ready Take Live. I have a special segment of Wowza Studio Sessions here at NAB Show 2018. I am joined by Randall Bennett of Vidpresso and Anthony Lazaro of Wowza. We are going to talk about Vidpresso, which is produces professional live streams with interactivity, integrating multi-camera setups, switchers, microphones, and more. But perhaps the biggest reason to use Vidpresso is for their custom graphics, polling, and commenting solutions that they allow in the live audience, the live streams. So Randall is here from Vidpresso, and Randall and Anthony together have some special news about ClearCaster integration. This is the first of its kind. Tell me a little bit about the ClearCaster integration right off the top, Randall, and then we'll get into a little bit more of all the feature set of Vidpresso.
Yeah, sounds good. So I'm excited because this integration was the easiest one I've ever done. I just set it up, and Anthony and his team made it all happen. Basically, with the Wowza ClearCaster, you can now integrate Vidpresso directly in and use Vidpresso comments, polls, and graphics directly in your ClearCaster system. I don't know, Anthony, do you want to explain how it works?
So it uses a browser-based input source into the ClearCaster, and so this makes it very easy for a digital or a director or a social producer to have a very high-quality encoded stream with really great graphics from Vidpresso. And we, chose the Vidpresso side of the house because we like exactly what you said, their graphics and comments and polls into Facebook.
Yeah, we've heard from a lot of our customers, Turner Sports in particular, they were dying to work with you guys. They love what ClearCaster brings to the table, 1080p, broadcast quality, the control room environments, they love all that stuff. And they love Vidpresso because it makes it really easy to add polls and comments and those things that they love to make their Facebook Live videos work at a really high level and add that interactivity that makes them just that much better. And so having that directly in the ClearCaster was something they were really excited about. So.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So Facebook Live has been exploding over the past year and a half or so.
Yep.
And I know that's caused an exponential growth in the amount of people, new people to live production, and the amount of brands that are starting to use it and need it for more than a sort of professionally produced keynote or an internal meeting.
Yeah.
They're going live on social. So tell me how much Facebook Live has impacted Vidpresso's business.
Yeah, so a lot of our customers range from really high-end traditional broadcasters who might use a full control room to go live, where they already are, they have a full setup where they're already going live, to even smaller, less known broadcasters who maybe want to do professional looking things but don't have a full setup. And the cool thing about our software is you can go live with just a browser, so you don't have to have a complete control room. But if you are NBC, if you are Turner Sports, if you are NASDAQ, you can still pull that off and go with the professional gear you have. With ClearCaster, it's really cool because you already have the switcher figured out, you already have the cameras figured out, and maybe you don't want to, you want to use something that's really streamlined, really, it takes SDI in and makes it happen, and you want to add just graphics without having to do the overhead of a traditional CG system. So for Vidpresso, someone can operate it from a web browser, one click to add graphics, one click to add comments, one click to add lower thirds, polls.
Yeah, I mean, the ease of use is really where Vidpresso shines.
Yeah.
We've NASDAQ is actually a client of ours as well, and we know that they love using Vidpresso for all their Facebook Watch programming and Facebook Live before that. And one of the things that we really wanted to kind of flesh out in this talk was, how it's not a tool that you need professional technical background to operate, right?
Yeah,
A lot of digital teams, a lot of marketing teams, social teams can use Vidpresso without any production background. Is that right?
Exactly. If you have that professional background, you want a tool that you can show someone how to use once, and you don't have to be the person on the phone all the time, helping them out 24/7. And that's where Vidpresso really shines. We made it so that you can do literally anything in the whole system with 2 clicks. So if you want to add a comment, if you want to add a poll, it's 2 clicks to do anything. And you can add different cameras in. All those things only take 2 clicks.
Yeah.
So it's really, really easy to use.
Yeah, so when Anthony first told me about this integration, when we were preparing for NAB, I was thinking to myself, okay, well, Vidpresso is a cloud-based streaming solution. ClearCaster is just going to send a stream to Vidpresso. Vidpresso is going to rewrap it, insert the graphics, do whatever, overlay things, and then send it back out. But it actually works differently than that. Anthony, maybe you could tell us how the ClearCaster integration works with Vidpresso.
Exactly. So the Wowza ClearCaster is built in collaboration with Facebook Live, and it gives you the best possible stream on Facebook Live. So it's whitelisted for 1080, for example, on any playback page. It's a native publishing feature with the live encoding API, where it automatically configures your stream. One of the shared values we have with Vidpresso is kind of enabling these digital directors or social producers to make very high quality content onto Facebook.
Right.
And the ClearCaster replaces the streaming engineer that might need to be there every single day to say, okay, here's an appliance that I trust and you can use, and hand it off to the digital team. So in terms of how it works with Vidpresso, we take in the external output URL from Vidpresso, and we apply that on the video coming through our appliance. So the video stays on site, and the graphics get applied on the appliance, and then that gets published into Facebook, taking advantage of all the unique features that ClearCaster has in terms of publishing to Facebook. The one really cool use case that you can see is you can have a stream like a Turner. You can keep everything in the central apparatus room. So your director of operations kind of sets up these appliances there. Feeds are coming back to the broadcast facility, and then the digital team or the social team can remotely control the ClearCaster to launch a product, can remotely control Vidpresso to apply graphics to that video. So you can have a really high quality output with very limited both equipment as well as technical expertise and number of staff that needs to power such a stream.
People can do it from anywhere. They don't have to be like sitting there in the room in the
right.
People, you don't have to crowd your room with extra social media people who are in that limited space in the truck. You can have those people.
It's collaborative as well,
desk.
right? You can have multiple users.
Exactly. You can have, we have a feature prompt view, so you can send comments directly to talent. We have other features that make it really easy to communicate with other users.
I've seen there's like a sidebar with it where they can actually chat and involve themselves as a producer. A lot of times these tools are so separated that you have to have like multiple screens of like, oh, I'm moderating the Facebook chat over here, and then I'm sending questions in over here, and I'm having it all on one screen. It makes things a lot simpler, right?
Yeah, and it's really cool that you don't your social team can use be in the places they're familiar with at their desk. They can set up their ClearCaster stream the way they normally would. They can go live. They can have an ear to the control room maybe, but they don't have to be sitting there on the benches taking up space in that precious area where there's already it's already limited space in there. So
you've been around for a while. Like I've heard of Vidpresso for several years. I've experienced it, used it, and I know a lot of our clients, especially on social teams and marketing teams, get a lot out of it. Are there a lot of other people doing these kinds of integrations, or is ClearCaster the only one at this point? What other use cases for integration are you seeing out there?
We're seeing sort of an emergence of this. I think ClearCaster is one of the first. I think a lot of people want to do more graphic intensive things, and for us, like we've always. We do encoding ourselves. Like we can do like some of the same things that ClearCaster can do. It's never been our focus though. Our focus has really been on the interactivity, really enabling creativity around like how do we make the show more interesting. That's where we like put all of our effort and energy, bring in remote guests. Like those are the things that we spend a lot of time thinking about. We see a lot of our things like TriCaster or other kind of tools that are starting to enable some of the they're starting to take some of the things that we do and put them into their tools.
Right.
So I think there's definitely like a wave starting. We're hoping to see, more production tools integrate software-based solutions for graphics, and it's great to see ClearCaster as sort of like a leading edge of that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that makes like you mentioned it before, that is a nice synergy between the ClearCaster and Vidpresso is how the technology just kind of fades into the background, and it allows people to just focus on the content, which is really at the end of the day, these are all tools they're all meant to, none of it really matters. Story is what matters and what comes out on screen at the final product. So, what are some of the other things? Let's step back a moment and talk about some of the easy to use tools inside of ClearCaster that make it a natural fit for people who already use Vidpresso. Things like the talent view and things like that, Anthony.
Yep. So the ClearCaster is a very intelligent appliance. So the way it works with the paired encoding APIs, you don't need stream keys. So you could be going to various pages, for your video. You could have different types of video coming in terms of 720 or 1080. And ClearCaster recognizes your type of video, recognizes where you're going on Facebook,
right?
And it publishes to Facebook seamlessly for you. It also provides you with a countdown clock for your video that is frame accurate for the start. This is really helpful for, after the live events. You can have that clean on demand.
It's the best. I mean, it's the first time in my career that I've seen VOD start on time in a live stream.
Exactly. So it's really professional tools. We provide that, for your talent and for your kind of digital or social team. I think, the really interesting use case just being here at NAB that I've seen come up is a lot of local news stations have been super excited coming by because they see ClearCaster really providing them broadcast quality streaming into Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And then they see a way to apply graphics on those in a very easy, professional, but then very unique way for Facebook. So one of the reasons we worked with Vidpresso on this, the technology we built takes in any browser-based input, but
right.
Vidpresso does a really good job with Facebook in terms of how it does the polling and comments, and even just like the quality of the graphics and how they're motion generated. Like it looks really good. So it's a great partnership there in terms of the professional quality that we provide at ClearCaster and then what they're able to provide for Facebook.
Right.
We're TV people too. Like we come from working in local news, so we know what it's like every day to have a show to put on. And I think that comes through with how the interface works,
Yep.
how the quality of the graphics feel. So we really understand what it's like to be one of those like local news people who has a show every day at 5. You got to get it done. And having like another thing to do for Facebook Live, we really want to make it easy to throw up a little coming up thing or a Q&A with your audience, those sorts of things.
Yeah. So. One of the things about a lot of cloud-based graphic solutions and things like that make people a little more nervous is the latency involved with moving video around in the cloud, right? And especially if when you're dealing with graphics and lower thirds and things like that. That's why, one of the things that I was actually really impressed with when I learned that actually the control, so the Vidpresso graphics are injected to the ClearCaster rather than the ClearCaster streaming to Vidpresso and being repackaged there.
Exactly.
So you have one out basically
from
there.
There's not like an extra hop to Vidpresso, an extra hop out to Facebook, and then.
And I've been really impressed with the latency. The graphics apply very fast.
Exactly.
And then one thing that we've done on the ClearCaster side too is if you were to, for whatever reason, have an issue on the Vidpresso side, we've compartmentalized the graphics with the video encoding so that your stream is still going to be rock solid going into Facebook, and then when the graphics kind of recover, they'll be right back in there. So we've thought through those kind of failure points and how we implemented the workflow, but it's worked really awesome. Even at a place like NAB where your bandwidth stinks, et cetera. Right. Like they're rendering awesome and real fast.
We've tried to architect the graphics too so that it doesn't take most of the most of the graphics aren't super bandwidth intensive either. So you don't end up spending that much rendering time or things like that. So it's really simple.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a lot of talk. It's really a hot button issue at NAB about all of the changes that are going on with Facebook, and it affects a lot of third-party developers, right? So especially in the social polling, social graphics space, a lot of these API changes are now having to be on your end and on others are having to recode around them and figure that out. I understand why they do it, and I also I'm firmly in the camp that it's their platform. Let them do what they want, and it does suck that at times we have to pause and roll back and then reintegrate with Facebook. But the fact of the matter is that it is still the most popular method of
Yeah.
communication to your audience, and it's being used. I know you have major brands, New York Times, TED,
Yeah.
Turner, all sorts of things.
And we had.
Do
we
you
had
see anyone going away from Facebook as a result of this?
I mean, we had a conversation with Facebook this morning about, all the changes and the rough times, and I told them basically the same thing. Like, we're super grateful for the platform that they've built. You
Sure.
know, like, it's free. We don't pay a cent. They've given us all this business. They've referred us to all these other people. We're extremely grateful for everything they've given us, and so we understand that they needed to make changes radically.
Right.
They had a huge thing happen, and
Huge issue,
if
yeah.
it was our business, we would do the exact same thing. It's not up to them to protect their partners when their business is at stake, and we understand that, like, was it done the most gracefully possible? No, but like, that's not their job. Their job is to protect their business.
Yeah, and we've worked a lot with the Facebook Live team over the past year developing the ClearCaster, and they're awesome.
Yeah.
They've been a great team to work with. I would say regarding publishers, Wowza has all sorts of publishers using all of our products. And,
Yes.
we see people going to various destinations, and Facebook draws the biggest audience, and I don't think that's going away anytime soon.
Exactly.
There's changes that are being made to the API that service providers need to adopt to, and they're to help get bad players out of the ecosystem, which is going to be a good thing overall. And I think what is really important that you can see from the past week or so is, it's important to choose a company that's really committed to going live on Facebook. And so that's an important thing, because you don't want to be down because your company all of a sudden doesn't support the correct API. So that's
Right.
What we're doing on the ClearCaster side. We had very limited impact, but then the impact we have had, we fix it immediately, and you would expect the same thing from a company like Vidpresso.
We had, our impact was extremely small. We had most of the changes we had were months ago. To be honest, we had like a little bit of heads up on some page access tokens that had changed, and those we already had fixed. So most of the impact we saw 2 months ago or something. So we didn't even have Black Tuesday, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
One of those big changes.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big deal for us, which was awesome. It was a great surprise for us, actually.
Yeah, no, same for us.
We were like, oh, yay, it didn't break, yay.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said about the platform. So the thing is that Facebook is free, right?
Yeah.
And now even though they aren't putting people's live videos that are going live into everyone's feeds as much as they did before, if you pay to play and you boost the post,
Yeah.
you do whatever you need to do to get that in front of more people. I think that the cost is very undervalued still at this point, and that that they have every right to prioritize that in a way that makes sense for their business, and that it's still way far less than what a traditional air buy would be. A lot of our business is in live events and live streams for brands that are not thought of as traditional media brands.
Yeah.
Right? And I think one of the things that I'm really big on in telling our clients is that every company out there is a media brand, whether they realize it or not.
Totally.
And the best way to communicate with their customers right now is on Facebook until Instagram releases a public live API, or until Twitter gets out of the dark ages with their producer tool and stuff like that. But
it's so competitive too. You need to be managing that brand. So if you're you're a local news station, but you're not going live about the breaking news that's going on, you start to lose some credibility if you're waiting until your 6 o'clock news to talk about something. And even a big broadcaster, you mentioned Turner earlier, but they're doing very interesting things for their basketball content, where they're showing pregame content up to tip-off, and then throwing up a Vidpresso slate to say, hey, go watch the rest over here.
Right.
And so you're really trying to find your viewers where they are, being able to maintain that relationship, but then also being able to kind of feed, point them to where else they need to go to dig in more, whether that's a news station to tune in now for the 6 o'clock news to learn more later on, or a broadcaster about watching some professional sports.
Well, and I think the other thing is it's kind of on us to make the platform more interesting. One of the reasons why Facebook deprioritized live, I mean, this is my opinion, not Facebook's opinion. This is my opinion.
Sure.
Just to be clear. I think one of the reasons why Facebook deprioritized live is because it wasn't people weren't producing as interesting of content as they needed to be. People were creating something interesting, but like a lot of the things that we were seeing was like repurposed stuff for live. So like a camera that they were already using, they were putting it on live, or a thing that they already were doing, they were putting it on live, as opposed to like creating interesting, compelling stuff for live. So as a result of not creating good enough stuff for live, you don't get as many viewers.
Right.
So it's like a downward spiral instead of an upward spiral. You have like a self-fulfilling thing. And so I think like if maybe us as tool providers created easier and better tools to create better stuff for Facebook, maybe we could have done a better job at getting more people to watch better stuff on live. And then like, I think it's up to the whole community to create better stuff for live. So I think like
absolutely.
I don't think it's I don't think it's incumbent on Facebook to give away free views.
Right.
I think it's incumbent on the tool providers and the content creators to give Facebook a reason to prioritize.
Just make better
that.
content.
Exactly.
Right?
And I personally feel like it's my responsibility as a tool creator to create better tools to make it so that people can create better content. And I feel like a little bit like I let people down, like I haven't done a good enough job yet, And like
Shame on
I
you.
do take it personally. Like this is my life, right? Like this is my thing. Like I really want to do a great job, and it's like my soul. I really want to do a good job for people.
Well, yeah. One of the things that like we always tell our clients when they're coming to us, like, how can we add more value? How can we create a better story? This and that. I mean, obviously, the easiest thing other than adding more cameras is to say better graphics, right?
Yeah.
More graphics integration.
Interactivity is like, I think that's one of the easiest ways to create compelling content is to take that audience you have, whether it's 3 people, 300 people, 300,000 people, and talk to them. And talk to them at scale using polls, talk to them individually through comments, and find out what they want.
And Facebook's built for it. I mean, they have a pretty darn good latency. It's 7 to 10 seconds, so you can really get that feedback in real time. It's a great place for viewers to comment and talk to each other.
And you're going to talk about stuff you care about.
Yep.
You're on pages that you already like. People are already interested in what you're doing. We built a feature to kind of help facilitate this. I feel like we're kind of one feature at a time trying to up the quality on Facebook. But Square Video is something that we support through ClearCaster.
Right. Yeah.
So you can be producing your kind of typical equipment, still using SDI to go into the ClearCaster, and we'll crop that to be 1 by 1. And that's a format that's really built for a social network. It makes a nice square video, so it's still kind of good amount of video landscape, but enables you to have that interactivity of typing in comments and doing those reactions while you're holding the phone vertically. Yeah. So it's kind of a
we had
social.
One client request square video, and this was pre ClearCaster being able to do this. And we had to use a solution we really didn't want to do it with. So I mean, like, there's a lot of research that shows that square video performs better on Facebook.
It gets more landscape in the news feed, things like that.
Right.
We support that plus 9:16, even though it's weird. People like it. And
people love 9:16. Yeah. It's interesting seeing some of those projects. So all of that being said, there's a lot of over dramatization over what's happening right now in the Facebook landscape. I believe it's here to stay. I think your business is going strong, and you're seeing a lot of new clients going live more often from Facebook. And obviously, we have all of NAB here at the Wowza booth is pretty much dedicated to the ClearCaster encoder for Facebook Live. So Wowza's made a big bet on it as well, and I don't think that there's any mistakes being made in this camp. So for all of you out there who may be wondering if Facebook Live is disappearing, it is alive and well. And if you're watching this video and if you've made it this far, about 25 minutes in, then you'll know that it's alive and well because you've stuck around this long.
Way to go.
Yeah. So thank you all. Thank you for joining us, Randall and Anthony. Really appreciate it. We'll be back in just a little bit at the top of the next hour, and we'll be live again on Wowza Studio Sessions here at NAB Show 2018. I'm Rob Baynard. Thanks for watching.